Hello, how are you?
I'm great, Jade. How are you doing?
I'm great as well. Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure to get on here and talk to you and all of your followers.
Absolutely. I so we've talked briefly before, but I don't know a whole lot about what you have going on. So I'd love to take a deep dive into your background, how you got into real estate, what you're doing now, all of that good stuff.
I love it. This is one of my favorite things to talk about.
Mine too.
Yeah, thanks.
When and how did you get started in real estate?
About before I had kids, I thought that I would pick a career that was like based on security and convenience so I could be with my kids. And so I went to school to be a teacher. And so I could, be with my kids and, on the summers and on the breaks and everything. But the only little problem with that, and I loved, loved, loved being a teacher, is that, and I did have the same schedule as my kids and everything, but I didn't have the freedom. Like when I was off with them, mostly we could just do popsicle stick art, or, I didn't have the financial resources to do fun stuff or to go on trips or, pay for the things and the lifestyle that I wish I had and that our family could have. And so I started looking into other options for making money and how I could supplement my income. And actually, I wanted to completely quit teaching and transition into something else. And I decided that real estate would give me the freedom and the time freedom, but also the financial resources to live the life and support my kids and making sure all their, that they could have a great life, but that we could also have a great life. And so I started going to school at night and got my real estate license. And I quit teaching and I went and became a substitute teacher because I had the same qualifications. I just switched. And then I substituted 3 days a week and I worked on real estate 3 days a week in the beginning. And then I closed my first deal and then I phased down to 2 days a week of teaching and then down to 1 day a week. And then finally I went full time in real estate about 20 years ago
Wow, so you went full time just being an agent?
now.
Okay. Was that a hard decision to make to leave a more secure job to go out and do something that's based on commission and something brand new to you?
At the time, it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever done in my entire life, if I'm being honest with you. It was like everyone told me I was crazy. Nobody thought it was a good idea. Everyone's like, you went to school forever to do this. And, are you crazy? Even the guy that used to change the oil on my car at the time, he's like, Mrs. Lowe, what's wrong with you? Why you quit teaching? He was just, he goes, you go to school for so long and now you're doing real estate. And about 2 or 3 years into it, I said, what's so funny? He was still changing the oil in my car. And I told him, sometimes in a month I make more in a month than I used to make in a year teaching. He's
Oh,
like, you're kidding. Because he's like, why did you quit teaching? He still was mind blown by that.
yeah.
And so it was a huge gamble. And I think that I bet on myself. But if I'm being honest, when it came time, because I had my credential and I had to renew my credential one time, but you had to do some stuff for it. And I let my credential lapse. And so I can't ever go back to that, obviously. And I remember when the market crashed in 2008, my mom, I said, maybe you should go back and get your credential back and go back to teaching. I'm like,
Well, you didn't though. You stayed with it the whole time?
yeah, I've been a realtor the whole time. And it's interesting that it's been a better path for me because the self-development and the growth and the person I've become in the process is completely different. Because when you don't get a real estate deal, like when you go to get a listing and you don't get it, then you have to do a lot of inner reflection and figure out like, what could I have done better? How can I improve? I would spend a lot of time memorizing scripts and dialogues and how to handle objections until I could like just totally absorb it and say it, myself. And I feel like over a course of time, the person I am today, and the personal power, and like I feel like I can do everything now. I feel like I'm a mighty oak, is because of that. But I feel like so many women, especially, pick a safe career, and I picked something that was safe and secure. It had good benefits. It had good scheduling for my needs and everything. But the only problem is that, and I'm so glad that you're in real estate at such a young age, because I found it later in life, but I think that my goal now is to teach women over 40 that it's not too late for them to invest in real estate and take financial control of their lives, so they don't have to either work until they die or be a burden to their children or live below the poverty level in their older age.
Yeah.
And so I think that I've learned a lot, but yeah, I was scared to death. That's a great question. I was scared to death to leave a very secure job. I had the best benefits. I had everything, right?
Yeah, yeah. My mom is also in the school system, and she has been since I was really young in school, and for all the same reasons. She wanted the same schedule. She started out actually working at the school that I was at, so she got to be around me during the day. And she's still there, and she is not a huge fan of it, but I think she likes obviously having, the schedule, getting off in the summers and stuff, but having the benefits and stuff. And she's never, been able or been willing to take a risk and do something else, even though she isn't 100% satisfied in that. So, what gave you the courage and the confidence to take the jump, especially when you had, smaller children? I see that a lot where, you have two, children to take care of, you have a good job, you get the schedule to be with them, and it can be really scary leaving all that behind and jumping into something that is unstable and takes time to build. So what do you feel like gave you the courage to do that?
For me, I feel like anybody can have the courage to do anything. One of my big sayings is, "This isn't your practice life." And that's really my life philosophy, and that you were born to be brave. And I think that what happens is I just saw a meme or something on social media that says they tested kids when they were little kids, and like 97% of people were geniuses when we're little, and then when you get into kindergarten it goes down to like 70%, and by the time you're out of high school it goes down to 3% that are geniuses. And I feel like that society helps shape us into conforming to what their goals and ideas and standards are for what our life should look like. And so we start slowly giving up pieces of our soul and pieces of our creativity and what we would love to do. Because I ask myself a lot, what would I love to do? And that's kind of how I guide my life, is what would I love to do? And so that's my barometer. But back in the day, I didn't ask myself what would I love. But what I would do is I would make a vision board. Every year, I'm really big on vision boards. I even host a vision board party at my house, even for the Subto community. It was one of the first things I did. I invited them when I was new. That's how I got to community camp.
Okay.
In my opinion, because I just okay, Pace says to do something and give, but I'm like, I don't know anything yet, so how can I give? And I'm like, oh, I host vision board parties, and at the newbie, Carolyn said that you should make a vision board, so I just invited everyone over. And
That's
so
awesome.
isn't that fun?
It is.
And so I really big. You can't see in my office, but I keep my vision board up, and now I watch a movie every day of my ideal life. When I wake up in the morning, I made an ideal life video. So it just, my subconscious more and more believes that it's real. But back in the day, I would look at it, and I had a kid that struggled with drug and alcohol back then, and he was in a facility that was very expensive, and my daughter was at George Washington University on the East Coast, and it was expensive. And I just would do whatever it took, for as long as it took, to figure out how I could be better and serve at a higher level. I think looking at how can I serve my clients at the highest level and add value to their lives, and really just integrating myself into their lives and being friends with them and loving them at a high level. So like if their kid gets married or their kid dies or whatever happens in their life, that we're part of that. And I think that I just kept believing in myself, and I'd hire coaches too. That's another really big thing is I've always had coaches, not in the beginning, and I've always hired coaches for accountability and to help me grow.
So more like mindset coaches?
Yeah, mindset coaches and being in proximity. I pay for masterminds, high level masterminds. In the beginning, people might say, oh, but I can't afford that. In the beginning, I couldn't afford that either, right? I was just, it's very expensive to become an entrepreneur, right? People don't realize that, like, you have to buy everything when you get into real estate, the signs, the E&O, the cards, everything, right? And you have to pay for your classes. And so it's interesting is one time I really wanted to be in the room, and it was very expensive to, to be in this mastermind and in this coaching group. And I really couldn't afford it. And so I literally sold my diamond Rolex watch, my diamond tennis bracelet, and I rented out a room in my house for 4 months to pay for it. I think that I think it was Thomas Edison that says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, that you're absolutely correct. And I think that we all have the resourcefulness, right? I didn't have the resources at the time to pay for that, but I had the resourcefulness to make it happen and to get myself in the room. And then when you're in those rooms with high powered, high level people who are further along the path than you, and you have proximity to them, and you can pick their brain and you get to be friends with them, and they shorten the learning curve by so much, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that it's important to get in those rooms.
For sure. Yeah, that's why I really loved I haven't been a part of any masterminds yet. I was at community camp, which was really fun and amazing to meet everyone and just feel the energy of, everyone's different personalities and meeting people that you've talked to on Facebook before, all those good things. I know it's been a while, but I am curious what your main takeaway or main takeaways were from community camp.
Didn't you love community camp? You know what the best part of PACE is and being part of the Subto community? I've never been in a community like this. Like literally, he loves us all. He's the most generous person. And if you just do the work, right? Like I'm putting my email together and doing all the stuff for Project Forward, right? Just like you're doing your work, right? And we're taking uncomfortable action, but he helps us at this high level. And so we both got to go to community camp, which if people are listening and they don't know what that is, it was in Montana, and you had to win a spot. So Pace saw something awesome in Jade, and Pace saw something awesome in me, and he and all the other people that he invited, and we got to come, right?
Yeah.
And it was an amazing event. And I think that the thing that I learned the most is it's being in those rooms and making sure you're there, right? And then taking advantage of that when you're there. But something else happened at community camp that really touched my heart because, Pace says network when you're there, right? But we were at Jerry Norton's house at that party with the food trucks. Were you there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I have a big, not a big house, but a big yard and a decent sized house, but I like to entertain. I've hosted a lot of parties over the last, 30 years of marriage or whatever, right? And the only problem is sometimes you regret saying yes to having big parties because like 2 or 3 days later, you're still cleaning up, right? And I know that from personal experience, right? And everyone came and had the fun, but nobody stays and helps clean up. And I noticed that they had these small little trash cans every so often, but they were piling up, and those food trucks had the plastic containers to go, and then the plastic cups. So they were piling up fast because you had 300 people at this house, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh my gosh, Jerry Norton's wife is going to kill him. She's going to be so upset that, if this just like keeps growing, right? So I just started picking up trash, and then I had taken all the trash and picked it up, but I needed more bags. So I went and found May, and I said, hey, May, do you know what Jerry Horton's wife looks like. And she said, oh, this is her. I'm talking to her, right? And she introduced me. And she was so nice. And anyway, I just said, I just wanted to pick up trash if I need more trash bags. So she went and got me more trash bags. And so I spent most of the time doing trash. And I was happy to do it, but I didn't meet a lot of people. But what's so cute and funny is, and the law of attraction, sometimes the universe gives right back and sometimes it takes longer. And I didn't do it thinking, oh, I hope I get rewarded for this, right? I just knew that if it was my house, it was just going to get worse. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the next day, in the morning early, I checked my Instagram messages, and May said, hey, be at Jerry's house at 8 o'clock. We're going to be going and looking at some properties, and they wanted to make sure you were included in the group of people who went.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that you definitely naturally just carry that go-giver mentality. I can tell that very quickly from talking to you. And I think that that is what everyone loves so much about the Subto community is Pace is like the shining armor of being a go-giver. He, gives so much. He doesn't have to do project forward. He's spending thousands of dollars on that and he doesn't have to. He's not really gaining anything from that, more than just love from us. But I think he just really creates that community, and anyone that joins, he attracts those type of people that are go-givers and want to give back to people and want to put good in the world. I love that because when you're in, free Facebook communities, it may not be that same type of energy, but as soon as you hop in Subto, you can tell that everyone's a family, everyone loves each other, everyone just wants to pour back into one another. So it's amazing. I love that takeaway and I love that story because things do come back to you even when you're not intentionally trying to find those things or bring things to you. When you put yourself out there and you just give love and give back to people, things do come back to you naturally.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I literally, I know like what you were saying about Project Forward and with Pace, I've never met anyone like him. I mean, for real, like it's just incredible. And I think what a blessing that we both are in that community. We're both now on this podcast together, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll do deals together and help each other's dreams come true and leave a legacy and have freedom, right? My big thing is I really want to create freedom and choices and options for not only myself and my family, but for other people, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have a better impact in every area instead of thinking, oh, I really wish I could help if someone was in a bad situation and thinking in your heart, oh, I really wish I could help, but having the financial resources to be able to help those people. I just think that it's wonderful to have those choices.
Yeah, I think that I don't remember what it was called, the dinner where we had the speakers and did the donations. That night was really eye-opening, I guess, for me in the sense of just seeing these people being able to write, $10,000, $20,000 checks to give back to something that they feel, feelings towards and feel strongly about. And that's a cause that I feel strongly about. I think that everyone in that room really felt something after watching the movie and watching all the videos. It's really, heartwarming to be able to give back to something like that. And it was just eye-opening in the sense of, like, that is such a goal to be able to go into rooms and write a $50,000 check and not think twice about it. So I loved that. That definitely made me want to just work harder so that I can be that person doing it next time.
Wasn't it incredible to see how much money was raised so quickly?
It was insane.
And they didn't have any outside, like everything was just experiences with Pace or with all the people that were presenters at our thing, at the community camp. And it was just incredible. And I really feel like what a legacy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jade, I can guarantee in the future you're going to be writing checks if you continue on your path, right? You're so much younger and you're getting such a young start in investing in real estate and in paying attention to building wealth at a younger age, that exponentially, because the time is on your side, it will grow at a much faster rate because you're starting younger.
Right. So you were an agent for you became an agent, you were doing that full time. When did you start getting into the investing side of real estate versus just helping traditional buyers and sellers?
So I've helped lots of my clients over time build wealth through buying commercial and residential income property, fourplexes and sixplexes and things like that. And then I was like, I had a son who had cancer and was really sick, and it made me realize I was really grateful that we had a lot of money saved and that we had the time and energy to just kind of put everything on hold and be with him. But my son had a moment where he wasn't doing well and was really sick, and he almost flatlined and was really sick, and it changed the way I look at everything. It was like a defining moment in my life. And even though we were doing well as far as, like higher income, we didn't have the passive income and we don't have the wealth that I made me realize. Because if you have a kid that lives in the hospital all the time, it costs a lot of money to have a kid in the hospital all the time. And most people have to file bankruptcy after a long-term sickness. And what happened that day is I was arguing with God. And in fact, it's so funny. I wrote about it in a book that it's a long story. But anyway, it just changed my life. And I decided right then and there, after my son got stable and was in the ICU, I made a list of everything I'd ever wished I'd done with my life that I hadn't done with my life. And that was 6 years ago. And I absolutely, well, it's 5.5 years ago, I've absolutely started doing everything on that list. And it changed my life because I think we all know we're immortal and we're all die. But I don't think, for me personally, I thought, it's going to be sometime, a long time in the future or whatever. And I don't know, that just really changed everything. And I want to set up a foundation and give back money to families. We do a lot at the Children's Hospital in Orange County where my son was for Christmas and bingo prize. We do a lot already there, but I want it to live in perpetuity after I die. So I want to set up a foundation, and that's why I would like to build wealth. And then I met Pace in Las Vegas. I didn't quite understand what he did because it's so different than what I do. And I think, are you an agent too?
I am.
Yeah, so it's so different than what I was taught, right? Like I didn't understand. I understood it a little bit, creative finance, but I didn't quite understand it. And so then when I grasped what he was doing, I'm like, oh, here's the path, right? God will always show you the path, right? I think that when we start taking imperfect action, that we don't always have to know what the next step is or the next step. But if we just start in that direction and we have the idea and the vision, and then we have the belief, like if your belief is high, I always have really high belief that I can do anything. And so when you have really high belief and then you start taking the imperfect action, it starts to unfold. And because if someone else has done it, you can do it. And I met Pace, and then I joined the Subto community, and I had some health challenges myself this last year. So learned to rewalk, and so I'm kind of been slow on. I met Pace, and then I ended up having to have a whole bunch of surgeries, and was in bed for a long time. And then my health is finally getting better, and so now I'm starting to take imperfect action at the level that that I would love to be taking action at, if that makes sense. But yeah, so it's a new thing for me, building my own portfolio.
Yeah.
In fact, we have an offer on a place right now that just got accepted. So it hasn't closed escrow, but anyway, It just literally just wired the money this morning on it. So it's exciting, right?
Congratulations. That is exciting.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Subto?
I joined last April, at the end of April. Or no, this April. It hasn't been a year. I joined in April, like this year, at the end of April 30th or something like that. How about you?
I think mine was last April 2022. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So time has flown by. It's been pretty crazy. What do you feel like Subto has taught you the most or shown you the most, either maybe about yourself or what your thoughts were around building wealth?
I feel like there's so many other options available and so many other avenues to building wealth and creating freedom that I feel like my mind has just been completely blown since I joined Subto. I feel like I believed up until I joined Subto that you needed a lot of money to build wealth. And that was definitely a limiting belief that was holding me back. And I see that not only you buy real estate creatively with little to no money, is that you can buy businesses, and that as the baby boomers are aging and retiring, that there's opportunities to branch out and not just be in real estate, but you can buy maybe some self-storage or a car wash or a laundromat. Or I met Vina Jetty, right, through Meeting Pace, and I never thought about doing multifamily before. And I think to myself, oh, I could possibly do a fund of funds inside somebody else's funds of their syndication. And
Yeah.
I just feel like the possibilities are endless. And I just love that, like with the Project Forward, Pace asked everyone to sign up and pay for it if you could afford it, and then get a battle buddy with someone who couldn't afford it. And so I paid for it, and then he wanted you to find someone, and I found someone in South Carolina, and I live in Southern California, and I didn't know him, and I just signed up next to him, and I love that we've never met before, but we've done our videos together, and he found a deal that he thought was a deal, and so I put him on the phone. I mean, on a Zoom, on a call with two guys that I know from Subto to see if it was a deal. But by the time we were done underwriting it and going through it with them, he realized he was only going to make $5,000 for all that work, and so he decided it wasn't a deal, right?
Yeah.
I love the community. I think that I love the fact that if we create our own communities, right, and give at a high level, and as we're learning on the path, and take people with us like you're doing, like you're taking imperfect action in doing this, and it's so great because it's the people who step out of their comfort zone, the doers, and take action. Because fear is a real thing. You're going to experience fear. Like, of course, I feel fear, and I have to decide, do I want to have my life be as it currently is still, or do I want to push? I don't even like that word push anymore. Do I want to welcome in new things? Because I'm more about being in the flow. And so pushing is so kind of, maybe there's a lot of resistance associated with that word.
Yeah.
And I think that as we take action, realize, oh, your mind wants to keep you safe. So fear is like, oh, that's new and different. Don't do that because you need to stay safe. But it's not really going to hurt you. And if you can just tell your brain in that thought, hey, is that really true? Am I not going to be safe if I do that? Right? We have to question our thoughts a little because your brain is wired to keep you safe. But trying new things like being on this video isn't going to, me and you, we're not going to die or explode or implode. Our life isn't over from this, right?
Yeah.
And so I think questioning our thoughts is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is powerful, being in a community of people that do want to grow. A lot of people in the community are changing the game from, for their families, or the first in their generation to do something like this and to want to build that long-term wealth. And so I think it is important when you are a person that wants to change your life and you want to go. Entrepreneurship is so lonely and it's so hard. And when you can surround yourself with people that want to see you do better, they want to help you do better, they're constantly challenging you to improve yourself and improve your capabilities, it really makes everything so much easier and better in the long run versus you just going at it alone.
Gosh, Jade, that is so true. It's such a lonely journey if you're by yourself, right? Because
Yeah.
you're the one doing the late nights, you're the one doing it, and you're usually by yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that being in the Subto community. If anyone's thinking about it, you should definitely join. If you're thinking about building wealth and using real estate as your engine, I think that it's a great thing because, and I love that Pace wants us to all connect. I was at a broker tour today for real here, and there's a house on the water, and I paddle in front of that house a lot, and I didn't know it was a duplex, that there's a unit right behind, and anyway, but I wanted to see it, and be familiar with it so I could possibly find a buyer for it. And it's interesting is I asked the listing agent if he had a blink card. I'm so used to that now from Pace. You know, it's so easy to just share your card electronically. And he'd never heard of it before. And it's not the cutest thing.
Yeah.
And I just think I remember the first thing I went to for with Pace, I didn't know what a blink card was. And I feel like as we stretch and grow, because the person you are today got you to where you are today. But if you want to go to the next level and the next level, you're going to need to release and become a different person, right?
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things and probably the biggest mindset shift that I've had recently is Pace said something on a Zoom, and it was something to the extent of it's not about learning how to make the $1 million. It's about learning how to become the person that attracts $1 million. Like, dang, that is so good and so true.
Yes, because just like, you know, Pace lost everything back, 5 years ago, approximately. And then he rebuilt it all, right? Because he became that person in the process. And
Yeah.
so it's who you're being is the most important thing, because we're all magnets, but also his skill set. He also, you know, he's big on, getting increase, becoming that person, because his skill set is at such a high level. You can plot Pace into anything, right?
Yeah.
And his skill set, and also his resiliency, and his commitment to learning and increasing his skill set to the level that he masters things. And then at this point, he brings people onto his team that are really high level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great thing. Becoming, right?
Becoming. Yeah. So in Subto, we talk a lot about avatars. Obviously, one of yours is going to be the unique. Do you have any other avatars that you're currently using being?
You know, I just know that I'm a unicorn agent, but I really don't know. I don't know that much about the avatars, and I'm gonna watch the Avatar series. There's in the vault. There's a thing on avatars, and I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
I have. Yeah, I think that it's really long. Of course, knowing Faith, all of his names are super long. I think that there might be 2 or 3 parts to it because there are so many. And if I'm correct, I think that he's creating another part to it. Yeah. So, what are you currently doing to you're still acting as a realtor every day, right? You're still carrying on that business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing on the other side of that, the investing side, to generate leads or to find it sounds like you're trying to buy properties right now. So what are you doing to find those properties?
I get the NOD and NOT list, which is the notice of default and notice of trustee sale, which are people that are in pre-foreclosure and foreclosure.
Okay.
And I go door knock them.
Oh, wow.
Knock them. That's what I started doing.
So are you using basically 2 options? Like, I can list your house for this amount, or you can do this?
I find out where they're at because most of them are in denial. This is a new thing. I used to door knock when I first started real estate. To get listings. I haven't door knocked in years because all my business comes from referral now. But especially inventory is really low in California where I live. And so the NODs and the NOT list has been growing. And so I do go door knock on their door, and I will do what I want. Like, it depends on, I tell them they have options. We can try and get their house caught up, right? Or depending on what their resources are and actually, what their situation is and how far in the rears they are. If there's equity in their home, we can sell their home. If they want to put it on the open market and there's time for that, it depends on how much time we have. We can list their house. A lot of times they're so much in denial, the owners of houses that are in the pre-foreclosure, a lot of them think that it's all going to work out, and that they've got it under control. And so mostly another option is that somebody can buy it, Subto, and take it over and, get them caught up, right? Or someone can cash them out right, and buy it and just to sell it to an investor. And so I really don't have, I just have like all these tools in my toolbox. It kind of depends on, even I just found out about a grant that in California that I can now let them know about, that they can try and get money to help, get caught up. And so really it's more about finding out where they're at and then what they want to do. I just started doing this 2 months ago. So it's a new endeavor.
Have you gotten any deals so far from that, or are we still working? Yeah.
No, just been talking to people.
Okay. Do you have any? I feel like, I mean, I have never gone door knocking, but I have heard Pace say that it's one of those things that people do a few times and then kind of just let it go. It's obviously kind of hard to go out there and you're walking and knocking on these doors and you don't know what you're walking into. I think that people can be a little freaked out by that. Do you have any tips for door knocking while staying with it? Anything that would help someone be successful if that's what they're thinking about doing?
I just think that I come from a place of how can I serve them? Because weird things do happen. People yell at you or they pretend they're not home or they lie to you. And then some people are really nice. Like this one lady, she didn't realize that. I mean, she knew, but anyway, we helped her get her. She's keeping her house. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I used to go with Jen Shelton. We used to go together and she's awesome, right? So I think if you can get someone to go with you, it's fun, but it does take a lot of time. I'm probably going to start doing calling more, calling people more because it does take time, but I'm still going to go door knock. I think that it's all a story you tell yourself about what's happening. I think for safety reasons, you should maybe go with somebody, but for me personally, I just go, I step back off there, like after I knock on their door. And I think that you just have to tell yourself it's fun, and maybe it's not fun to you, but I think 2 things. It's fun to help someone save a foreclosure, right? And 2, I just thought of a story a long time ago. We signed our house back over to the bank. This was like a long time ago in the early 90s. And it's interesting, but nobody told me because I didn't know anything back then. I was young and it's a long story. But anyway, the bottom line is I wish someone would have said, hey, you have a ton of equity in this house. You should put it on the market and sell it, right? But no one told me, and we were drowning financially because my husband had a bunch of businesses that were going under from the crash in the early 90s. And we thought it was going to turn around, and we used our personal money to save his business. And we should have just collapsed the business and kept our house and kept our finances the way they were. We were young. We learned a lot from that. But I'm just saying, no one ever came and helped me or said, hey, these are your options, right? Like, and because that would have been a nice thing, right? But so I think I'm helping them. I make it a game. I don't take anything personal. I think so many people take everything personal. Like if you get rejected, I think I've become really like Teflon, and I don't take too many things personal because anytime somebody's upset, it's usually something going on with them. And maybe how they heard something, or maybe they're embarrassed or there's shame associated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with me. I'm just coming to help. But I think that a lot of people, their heart gets really, like beats really heavy and they get really nervous. And I just think if you realize that you're coming to offer options and you can't get attached to outcomes, that's really important in life, not just in real estate, but in life. If you can let go and not get attached to outcomes, because when you're trying to control something, you're going to experience a lot of disappointment. And so you just have to know it's a numbers game. The more people you door knock, or the more people you talk to, and then the better you get at explaining things, right, and overcoming objections. And I think that you need to be heartfelt and find out what's really going on. A lot of these people have had either a job loss or someone's having a health crisis, and there's things going on in their family, right, that are beyond just the house being behind on their payments, and finding out how can you help and assist them and get them the resources or help them get money to move, right? Because a lot of these people don't have money to move. And I just think just being a resource for that person. But I think if you're considering doing it, not taking it personal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that taking it personal can be hard, whether you're door knocking, calling sellers, calling agents, because you can get some nasty phone calls. Like, I do a lot of direct to agents, and agents can be really rude and ruthless and just, like attack you. And I always tell people you can't let the agent bully you. Like, you really just have to shrug it off. You have to stay calm and collected. You can't give in to their little act that they're giving you. And yeah, don't take it personal. They're mad because they've gotten 50 phone calls about this, or they haven't, someone hasn't explained it right and they feel like it's fraud and, all these things. It's not against you. It's just they've had past experiences that have made them react this way. I like that a lot. Something else you said trick your brain into thinking that it's fun. And I think that also applies to making phone calls. I sit in front of my computer all day, every day, doing emails, doing phone calls, and it can drive me crazy sometimes. I have to make it fun for myself, whether that's, listening to a fun podcast in the background or watching my favorite TV show, let it play in the background. So it feels like I'm enjoying myself while I'm making these calls and I don't get so bored or get so tiresome doing it. So I love that. I always tell people just put on your favorite TV show. It's fine. Just watch it and keep hammering the phone and time will go by a lot quicker.
Yes, and in between when I go door knock, in between houses, because they're not, when you get the NOD and NOT, the houses aren't all next door in a row, right?
Yeah,
I play my favorite songs like full blast. I'm dancing in my car, like dancing, driving. Like I think you have to make it fun, right?
you do for sure.
Mm-hmm. There and and people will feel that when you're smiling and having fun and you talk to them, you can make a connection with them better.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. So you're mostly looking to acquire properties at this point. Is that right? You're not like wanting to start a wholesale business or do anything like that. You're more so wanting to acquire and hold properties.
Yes, if it makes sense. Or fix it. I don't mind. I'm not sure in this market if I would want to fix and flip houses. Um, we have we have in the past, not recently, not anytime recently. We have fixed up houses and sold them, but I have not done that in a long time. Um, I probably maybe would be open to wholesaling. I don't understand wholesaling actually that well. I mean, I understand that people like because I've come across wholesalers, as a realtor, but I don't understand the business exactly. Like I think they go find a deal and then they sell it to somebody else.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to being a realtor, which is why I think that maybe realtors don't like wholesalers. And because that line may be a little gray, you have to be careful not to be, brokering a deal necessarily. You're, finding the deal and just getting a fee for, from the end buyer essentially. But it is very similar as being a realtor. You're finding, you're listing a house and finding a buyer for it, basically.
Very similar.
Yeah.
I as an agent, I've had mostly unscrupulous wholesalers approach me, that, and I've met some awesome wholesalers in Subto who are ethical and just fully disclose everything and are very ethical and forthcoming. But prior to Subto, most of the wholesalers I would encounter um, would try to like trick things up. I don't know how to explain that, but
Yeah, I think that that's why they have such a bad name because, even though being a realtor is fairly low barrier to entry, there is still some type of entry. And in wholesaling, there's not. Like, people don't know what they're doing, right? You watch a YouTube video. I mean, this is how I got started. I literally watched a couple of YouTube videos, I drove for dollars, sent a letter, got this house locked up, and had no idea what I was doing. I was 19 years old, had this, house locked up, trying to find a buyer for it. So, I mean, it all worked out. I, did well by everyone and got the house sold. But I think it's scenarios like that where people have no idea what they're doing. They watched one video and think that they can go wholesale this house. And maybe they ghost the seller, they ghost the buyer, they don't disclose things, or they use a horrible contract and it messes up the deal. So yeah, I think that there should be maybe a higher barrier to entry for wholesaling just to protect the buyers and the sellers.
Yeah, I agree. And then, it's funny. Just today we were talking about what a low barrier with my broker. I was talking about at that house. There's such a low barrier to entry that we have a lot of knuckleheads even in the real estate business, right? Because like if you want to be an engineer or doctor or whatever or dentist, they weed you out, right? Like there's a lot of barriers to getting in.
Yeah.
But you take a few tests, you take a few classes, and you take a test, and then boom, you're ready to go. And wholesaling, but at least you went out and wholesaled a house. Like you watched a YouTube video, and then you went out and did it like that. You have a lot of gumption, right? That's what I call gumption. And you went and did it. Like how awesome is that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday. I was just driving in my car and I was like, how crazy is it that I took a class, I took a test, and at 20 years old, I could go sell $1 million house, someone's largest asset, this large amount of money that a 20-year-old has never even seen. And I basically have the credentials to go and do that. Like it's actually kind of scary when you think about it, how low of a barrier to entry it is to sell houses.
Right.
Yeah,
But the thing is if you want to make money in real estate and serve your clients at the highest level, that's a whole different ball game, right? Like getting your license and then becoming a professional realtor, and actually like serving that takes a lot of skill and time over time, right?
for sure. Yeah. Once I got my license and I got my first client and I went to go write a contract, I was like, oh my gosh, I realized how little I actually learned from those classes. And thankfully, I've had a mentor throughout my, entire years of being a realtor. So I've had mentors that have been in the game for years and years and years, and they've helped guide me and make sure that I'm, serving my clients at the best level. But it is scary for someone that gets newly licensed and has no one to lean on and no mentors to guide them through what to do.
Mentors, Jade, are so important, right?
Yeah,
And I think that being in community and getting those mentors and aligning yourself with people who are on the path ahead of you, like here's where you are, and there's where you want to be, and bridging the gap but it's so good to have a mentor to help you because they know what they're doing, and you'll minimize your mistakes, and you'll the learning curve will be so much faster.
yeah. What do you feel like creative finance and the whole Subto world has done for you in your real estate agent business?
I feel like it just gives me an extra tool in my toolbox. I just sold a house that was a hoarder's house. I had 35 offers on it, all cash. And when I say hoarder, it was like to the ceiling almost in some parts of the house. And the house needed a lot of work, but the inventory is so low. And so I was presenting the offers to the seller and the successor trustee. And she said, "Oh, one of my siblings really wants to buy the house, but she can't get a loan because interest rates are so high, and because of the condition of the property, she can't get a loan because of the condition of the property, right? But she would really like to buy it and then clean it out and fix it up and move her family in there and raise her kids there and have her kids go to the same schools that we went to, right?" She was, "I'm really kind of bummed about that." And I said, "Oh, would you like me to explain an option to make that a reality and maybe not move forward with one of these 35 other offers?" She goes, "Yeah, what are you talking about?" I said, "How would you like to become the bank? We can upgrade you and you can become the bank and you can finance the deal for her and her family, and she can buy the house." And so it took a few days, right? Um, and we upgraded her to the bank and she became the bank. And so the trust is making money and the terms were good for everybody, right? And then the person got the house that they wanted to, right? It stayed in their family. And because of the way the situation is now, she wouldn't have been able to get the loan, right? And the only way it worked was from creative finance. So I'm so glad that I had that option to offer to her and it worked out.
I love that. Yeah, it's definitely a tool in the tool belt, and you're such a stronger listing agent or real estate agent in general when you can provide a different option to your clients that maybe another agent wouldn't even know about or know to provide to them. So that's really cool to hear that you're, utilizing those strategies in your traditional real estate.
Isn't that fun?
That is.
Oh,
What do
hey, Abraham. Someone
she
just joined
made?
us. He
What?
came to our vision board party.
Oh, really?
That's where I met Abraham. He came to the vision board party.
How fun. Do you guys have a Subto meetup every month over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have quite a couple.
Okay.
We have a beach party tomorrow night down at the beach.
Oh my God. I'm
Mm-hmm.
jealous.
Isn't that
That's
fun?
fun. What do you feel like has been your hardest lesson to learn throughout your journey of just entrepreneurship in general? Lesson or maybe mindset shift?
I think surrendering the things that I thought were serving me well, that were actually stumbling blocks, and letting go of my limiting beliefs, and having more trust and faith in the process. And having more patience along the way, and go instead of forcing things, being in flow, not force, and because everything is ruled by laws and governed by laws, and I think that that sometimes we have to lose ourselves to become the version of ourselves we would love to be. And I feel like pain is a really powerful teacher. And when we embrace the pain and we embrace the things that were the lessons, the not getting the 30,000, the $2 million listing appointment that you went on, and then looking back and realizing it was because you did something, there's a skill set that I was low in that I needed to improve on. And that taking extreme responsibility for every aspect of my life, I think, has been the hardest thing. And I feel like I'm in a good spot where I pretty much always take extreme responsibility. I don't say always, I don't like that word, but most of the time. And realizing that I am the problem in every situation, I think, has been the switching from being a teacher to being an entrepreneur, that I'm the problem in every situation, and that I take extreme ownership of everything. And to get to that point, though, was I'm still a work in progress. I still have so far to go because I'm nowhere near where I want to be. But I feel like just starting to take ownership of everything has been a big aha for me, and realizing that my income is dependent on me, my lifestyle, trips, my whatever it is, right? The buck all stops with me. There's my health, my all those things, right?
Yep.
I'm in charge.
Yeah.
And people can blame everyone. You can say, oh, I was married to this jerk, or I had so this and that. But at some point, you need to draw a line in the sand and say, I own this, and I'm going to start like what. Have some honesty with yourself, because until we have those frank conversations and quit lying to ourselves about what's really going on, we really can't become the best version of ourselves, because we can excuse ourselves into all kinds of weird stuff, right? And then you have a complacent life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Someone that I look up to a lot always says the phrase, love isn't lies, meaning if you love yourself or you love someone else, then you're going to be 100% honest. You're going to look in the mirror and take full accountability and not try to sugarcoat things with yourself or make excuses for the way your life has ended up, the amount of money you make, anything like that. The only way you're going to progress and truly love yourself is telling yourself the truth. I like that a lot.
I love that. Love is not lies. I love that.
Yeah. What do you feel like you need most in your business right now?
Well, for me personally, I'm shifting a lot of things. Like I'm just finishing up on a book I'm writing called Ask No More. And it's targeted for women over 40, 50, and 60-year-old women who maybe live paycheck to paycheck, or they did invest in their kids. They were stay-at-home mom, or they got a divorce, or they, whatever their situation is, but now they're looking at their life and they're like, oh, I'm going to have to work until I die. And so I wrote a book that'll be coming out next year about your mindset and having the courage to take extreme ownership of your life. And I started a podcast called Born to Be Brave. And my goal is to empower women to take extreme ownership of their lives and have fun and get in community with me and move forward to create a portfolio through real estate that they can live the life that they dreamt of. If you just own let's say you own 2 duplexes, wow, the trajectory of your life for the next 20 years, right? Let's say you don't have like huge goals, like I have huge goals, right? But let's just say you want to have fun with your kids or pay for your kids' college and be able to go on trips or do fun stuff with your grandkids. If you just own 2 income properties, what a difference in your financial monthly, portfolio that would make, right, in your income. And so for me, that's what I'm looking at, is learning more how to acquire properties through creative finance and traditional channels, and then becoming the person that I'm meant to be. I'm learning how to do this so that I can go out and teach women, because I know how to build wealth for people through traditional means. Like I've made lots of my clients very wealthy, right, through saying, hey, I found this deal, you should buy it, right? But they had money, right? And that's a great thing, to take people's money and multiply it. But I'm learning right now how to do it creative so I can help not just people. Like my last client, right? She really wanted to sell it to her sister, but it wouldn't work. No bank was going to loan her the money for that house. And so I just would like, my real goal is to help at least like 10 women make $100,000 a month, and just to be the people they're supposed to have and the impact they're supposed to have, and to have total freedom. That's my big, big, wild dream. And that's really where I'm at now, because that's what I'm learning and doing, and that's what I'm working on, and starting my podcast. And I started a little challenge in my Born to Be Brave group. I haven't done anything in it forever. And I'm like, okay, you know how a stool has 3 pillars so it can stand up? I'm like, okay, what would I like to get better at? Because I've been in bed for, long, I've had quite the year. And so I'm like, okay, I'd like to get back in shape, because now my foot, I'm cleared to go paddleboarding again, and I can walk pretty good now. And so I'm going to get back in shape. So physical, right, vitality and health. And then I'd like to increase my spirituality and read the Bible more and scriptures and things like that, and just talk with women and, about that. And then I would like to build wealth, focus on the wealth. So those are my 3 pillars. And so I've just been doing that and focusing on just getting better, 1% better, like James Clear says, get 1% better, and then just keep moving forward. But that's what I'm really focusing on, is my podcast. I've been doing my podcast interviews, building my email database, so I'm not reliant on social media, right? So if platforms change, I have that. And that's really it. I'm looking to empower women over 40, build community with them, be a speaker, be, a coach with them, help them build their portfolio, and have fun. Have lots of fun. I go to Disneyland every Wednesday if I'm in town for like 2 hours and ride rides, and because Disneyland's only like 25 minutes from my house. And like yesterday, I was at Disneyland by 7:30. I rode Space Mountain twice, Big Thunder Mountain, and Indiana Jones, and I was home by 10 o'clock and on the phones.
Sounds fun. I love it.
So I think we need to have fun.
Yeah, definitely. I love the having fun. I love the woman empowerment, because although it's changing, I think that real estate and entrepreneurship in general is a male-dominated space. So it's nice to see a bunch of women on the rise and showing that it is possible and that you don't have to rely on a husband or something like that. You can do it yourself and become your own powerful person. So I love that that's your mission. That's so powerful, especially for doing the podcast for that and just giving back to all the women that really need someone to show them that there is a path to the wealth and to a better life. So where can people find your podcast?
It's called Born to Be Brave with Colleen Lowe, and it's on YouTube and on like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You have to put Colleen Lowe in because I didn't do any research before I named it. I just always say you were born to be brave, and miracles are my normal, and everything's working out for me. So miracles are my normal is what I called it. I started it when my son had cancer, and then I took a break, and then I thought, oh, I'm just going to call it You Were Born to Be Brave, right? Because I started doing all the stuff on my list. And I didn't know there's a famous song called Born to Be Brave. So you have to put in Born to Be Brave by Colleen Lowe. Because that's the thing about taking imperfect action. You should maybe do a little research before you name your podcast.
That's okay. At least you did it.
But at least I did it, right? And eventually it'll pop up on its own because I'm making consistent content and putting it out there, right? Because even I read, there's a book called The Science of Getting Rich, and I listened to certain chapters, and so I recorded them as part of my challenge, and I recorded them on there, and I put it on there so people can listen to them, so I can listen while I work out. And it is interesting. At least I did it, right? Yeah, yep. I did it. And the thing that really solidified it for me when I met Pace, I was at the Clever Investor Summit. They only had two women on the stage, two women on the stage. And I think it is changing for younger people. Younger people are investing and women are investing in real estate and becoming entrepreneurs. It's shifting, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think that I still see everything I see, like whatever it is, even outside of real estate, when they have these events and they have the speakers, there's like all these men and there's still a handful of women. And I never thought I'd be this person, but I'm like, go women. It is time for us to band together, freaking become wealthy beyond comprehension, and become these amazing women that just radiate light, love, and energy and inspire people to live the life and to take that next step and to believe in themselves and to magnify it and get out there and get after it. And then we need to all be on stages. I would love that. That's what we need to all do.
Yep, that would be amazing to see it be majority women and maybe two men up there.
Right? Yes. Or just good people, but I just really do believe that when we start owning those stages, we're going to bring up more people and more women. And not only do I want to be on those stages, but I want to be the person organizing the stage. So then I can empower other women to come up and be on those stages because why not? This is the bottom line. I have two little grandbabies. One's going to be 2 in a couple weeks, and the other one is 4. They're little girls, right? And I want them to believe with every fiber of their being that they can become, do, and have anything, that nothing is too big for them. And I want them to say, you know what? Look at my grandma. She was just a regular person. My grandma's just an old lady who went out and decided, I'm going to go out and I'm going to figure it out for myself, and I'm going to go teach other people. And if my grandma can do it, I can do anything. That is my real goal. All the little girls, I want them to know they can do or become anything. That's the truth.
I love that. I love that so much because they do look up to you. And I feel like, the norm used to be that women didn't do these type of things and women didn't build the wealth and build businesses. So it just wasn't a normal thing for little girls to think that that's what they should be doing. And now that that's all changing, I do think that it's going to be a completely new generation of women that are go-getters and not counting on anyone else and making their own money and making their own dreams happen for themselves.
Yeah, isn't that fantastic? Because I have seen so many women my age get divorced, or their husband dies or gets sick, but so many of them get divorced and they get the shaft. And then they're like having to go back to school. They're having to piece together. They're living like paycheck to paycheck or even on food stamps and all these. I've seen horrific things happen to women like in their 40s, 30s and 40s, and they got a bunch of kids. And I just, we're gonna change the trajectory of that and empower people. And I'm really into fun. I think fun is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So other than your podcast, where's the best place for people to find you, reach out to you, chat with you?
What's the best place? My phone number is 562-221-7744, or they can email me at Colleen at iwasborntobebrave.com. I'll spell it out. That's probably the best way. And I'm setting up my landing page for my homework. I haven't done that yet. So, but I got my email, I got my contact database thing, and I already sent out my first email. So, and on social media, I'm Colleen Lowe _ on Instagram. On Instagram, Colleen Lowe _, and then on Facebook, I think I'm Colleen Barker Lowe on Facebook. Yeah. Oh, look at that, John. Put that there.
He's helping you out.
Yeah. Yeah, he's sweet. Yeah, I actually married a really good person. Yeah, marry a good person. There's a good tip, right?
That is a very good tip.
Yeah, someone kind, right? Marry someone kind. Oh.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially as a woman, right, it is important to marry someone that encourages you to go after your dreams and encourages you to become a person and doesn't try to hold you back or want you to be dependent on them.
It's so true. And shouldn't we hold space for everyone's dreams, but especially our partner in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we hold space for other people's dreams, that's so important, right? Not to judge or anything, just like, I'm holding space for you. I'm holding space for your dreams. And I know my dreams are gigantic, and it's a lot for my sweet husband, because I'm up until now, like technologically, I'm a little challenged. Up until now, I'm getting better. But if you saw, this is my podcast recording studio, and I have a full studio, and he sets it all up, with everything. It's like incredible. So I'm grateful, because it takes both of us to do that, right? Yeah. If you want to go far, go together. I love that, Abraham.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, amazing. This has been so good. This was such a great conversation. You're so insightful. I'm so glad that I had the chance to talk to you, and I'm so glad that you were able to pour into everyone that subscribes to me and shows up here every week. So I really, really appreciate it, and I hope that we get to do a deal together soon. We get to chat more together, and thank you so much for coming on here.
Oh my gosh, it was my pleasure and such a privilege to talk to you, Jade. I'm so excited that you reached out, and I'm like, I can do that. I'll come on with you. I'm so excited. And then I went and checked out your Facebook. I'm like, she's in real estate. She's a realtor too. I was so excited.
Yes, it's been amazing. Is there any last thing you want to add to the audience? Any last words?
Just that I hope that you will ask yourself more often, what would I love? And start doing more of that. And believe in yourself more, and realize that you're worthy of all the greatness. You're worthy of it. You're enough. You can become anything that you set your mind to. And that I would start asking myself more of, what would I love? And then start doing it and take imperfect action, and just realize failure is part of life. And embrace that, and have fun with even your failures. Have a good cry, but don't stay there, right? Don't stay there forever. I don't believe in toxic positivity. I believe you should cry, punch out a pillow, go for a run, a walk, whatever, right? Scream it out. But you can't make a camp there. So make sure your energy is good most of the time, and focus on gratitude. If you're feeling down, go serve somebody else. You'll feel better pretty quickly if you go serve someone else. My last thing is, if you're looking for something good to do for Christmas, I do a huge thing. My husband and I and our family, we do a huge thing at Chalk Hospital, and we help the older kids. We do bingo prizes. And so if you want information on that, let me know. I can help make your Christmas more fun and meaningful. I just thought of that because I got to get on top of that.
Good. That's so good. Love it. This has been amazing. You've had so many great insights. I hope that everyone watching gained as much value as I did from this. Thank you guys for showing up, and I will see everyone next week.
Thanks, gorgeous.